Tape www.suividecolosénégal.com. À École au Sénégal, c'est facile, tu n'as qu'à te connecter. Tape École au Sénégal, les leçons sont beaucoup plus détaillées.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everybody's doing okay and we're fasting and we're staying healthy. This is Teacher Raisa again for you. Yesterday we had started with nationalities, continents, nationalities, nations or countries. And I hope that you guys did enjoy that particular lesson or the video. And if you have any more questions, please do let me know. So today we're still continuing with our countries, but today something a little bit more different. We're going to look at countries and your currencies. Currency is something that you use, a financial, the money that they use in someone's country. There are so many currencies, but we're just going to focalize on the ones that are used most, most often, which are these currencies that you hear all the time, or that's currently, active in the financial market, okay? And so currency is what you use. It's the money of a country, what you use to buy and sell and do transactions and things like that. That's what's called currency. In French, it's la monnaie. So it's the currency of a country. And on my board, we have a bunch of, I think about 10 or 12 different currencies that you see on the board. And we're gonna try to label some of the countries that these currencies are being used. So my first one is CFA, and CFA actually is what is quite rampant or used in Africa, especially with French countries. They use what they call the CFA or the X. Sometimes you see the X attached to XFA. Which is like a central francophone zones. So it's called like a CFA, or it could be a franc, CFA franc. So in most French countries in Africa, they use CFA. For example, Senegal, for example, Cameroon, okay, Cameroon, Gabon, okay, Senegal, okay, what else? Ivory Coast, they use the CFA franc. They're a little bit different as far as the exchange rates are concerned, but they're all CFA franc, okay? And they range from maybe 5 francs all the way to 10,000. And so these are some of the countries that would use the CFA franc. Of course, there could be others, that probably use it. And then you come to a dollar. Dollar, we all know dollar, but when we think of dollar, the first thing that comes to mind is just the USA. But no, there are a whole bunch of countries that uses, even in Africa, there are some countries that would use CFA. So we have, like, of course, the USA, of course. We have Canada, which has the Canadian dollars. It has the Canadian dollars. So Canada uses the dollars as well. We have Liberia in Africa that uses the dollar, So we have a whole bunch of countries that would use the dollar, that would use the dollar sign, even though maybe the interest rate, like I said, may be different. And then you have the sterling pound, okay? You heard every time someone would say, sterling pound, which is livre, livre in French, the sterling pound. Of course, we only have UK that would use it, the UK or Britain. UK is the United Kingdom or Britain that would use the pound. And the pound it's the highest currency thus far. It has the highest currency rate, the pound. And so pound is being used in UK or Britain or so. And then of course we have euro, which is used in the European world. You have the euro, okay? It's used in the European world, like France, and sometimes you could use them even in Belgium, and sometimes you could use it in in all those Luxembourg, those European countries that are under the European League, oftentimes, you hear them use euro, even though there are countries in Africa that could accept the euro, like Senegal. Depending on where you go to, you would actually use the euro, but it's oftentimes like in France that you see euro, okay? And then you have ruby. Ruby is from India. Ruby is from India. Ruby, it's from India. That's what you would use if you had to go to India. You have Indian rubies. It's called Indian rubies. Okay, and then you have the yen. Yen is where you go to when you go to Asia, the Japanese yen. It's from Japan. It's called the Japanese yen. It's called Japanese yen. It's from Japan. Indian rubies. It would be Indian rubies. It would be French euro. American dollars, Canadian dollars, Liberian dollars. That's how it's called. Or dollars. So you have what they call the Japanese yen. That's what is used in Japan. Please be careful, because sometimes people confuse it with Chinese, whereas it's Japanese yen. Japan uses yen and Chinese uses yuan. Okay? So the Chinese would use the yuan, which is China, and people from China are Chinese, like I mentioned in our last video. So it's Chinese yuan. It's Chinese yuan and Japanese yen. And then you have the ruble. Ruble. Please don't confuse ruble and ruby. Okay? Ruble and ruby. Ruby is from India. Ruble is from Russia. Okay? What Vladimir Putin is Russia. So it's called the Russian ruble. Okay? It would be called the Russian ruble. So you have Cameroon CFA, you have Senegalese franc, you have Gabonese franc, you have American dollars, you have Canadian dollars, and it's Canadian dollars. You have Liberian dollars, even in countries like Congo, they do use dollars. Congo, they do use dollars, even though sometimes CFA could be accepted, but oftentimes your monetary exchange oftentimes is in dollars. So, and then in the UK you have the British pounds. So you would say British pounds, okay? It's not English pounds, but you will call it British pounds. So in Britain or in the United Kingdom, you have what they use the British sterling pounds, okay? And then you have French euro. It's not France euro, but you're gonna say the French euro. And then you have Indian rupee, because it's in India. And then Indian rupee, like I said, is nationality, okay? And then you have Japanese yen, and then you have the Chinese yuan, and then you have the Russian ruble. So the Russian ruble. And then you have lira. Where do you get the lira from? I think when you hear lira, I think the first thing that comes to mind is Italy, right? You think it's from Italy, which is could be probably okay also. But lira is from Turkey. Okay, lira is from Turkey. And so you would say someone from Turkey is, do you remember what we did yesterday in the last class? So it would be Turkish lira. It would be Turkish lira from Turkey. So in Turkey we use the lira, which is Turkish lira. And then you have the Swiss franc, because we have and make sure you put the Swiss franc. It's very important, okay, that you mention the Swiss franc, because remember I said that we have the CFA franc. So we have the CFA franc, the Central African franc, and then we have the Swiss franc, which is, and Swiss, do you remember Swiss, what country? What is it, Swiss? Okay, it's Switzerland. It's Switzerland. Or even Sweden. You can use Switzerland, and sometimes even Sweden as well, we use it. Okay, so Switzerland, Swedish franc, or even Sweden, someone that's Swedish. Sweden, Swedish, Switzerland, Swiss. So we have the Swiss franc. And then you have the city. The city. City is from where? Do you remember? City is from Ghana. It's from Ghana. Ghana. Okay, it's pronounced Ghana. Ghana. So it's from Ghana. And the H is kind of silent. So it's Ghana. And so it's Ghanaian. So it becomes a Ghanaian city. A Ghanaian city. Ghanaian. Ghanaian city. It's a Ghanaian city. And then you have the Naira. We all know Naira from Nigeria. We all know Naira from Nigeria. The largest African country, populated country actually, is Nigeria. The most populated African country is Nigeria. And so they use what they call Naira, or in plural, Nairas. And then you have the shekel. Shekel is from Israel. So it's from Israel, which is my son, my daughter's name, Israel. Shekel is from Israel. The nation of Israel, they use what they call the shekel. And then won. Won is from Korea. Korea in Asia, Korea. Won is from Korea. So you're going to say Korean won. It's going to be called Korean won. And of course, we have the South Korea and the North Korea, but they both use Korean won. I'm sorry, they both use the won. So you have the Korean won, and then you have the peso. Peso is from Spain. Peso is actually a Latin currency. When I mean Latin, it means you use Mexico will use it, Spain will use it, Argentina will use it. So it's more of a Latina or South American currency, the peso. And so it's the Latin world. When you talk about the Latin world, it's about Puerto Rico, it's about Venezuela, it's about Brazil, it's about Spain, it's about Mexico, it's about, so those are the Latin, what they call them, the Latin world, the Latina people. And so peso, you would probably hear it in Argentina. You hear it in Mexico, you hear it in Spain. So, just to give a few, you will hear peso. And then what about rand? Rand. The D is silent. Rand. Rand is from South Africa. Rand. South Africa, and it's going to be South African rand. It's going to be South African rand. Just so we go back to peso, okay? You're going to say a Mexican peso. So if you have to be specific, you see how it says Mexico, but somewhere from Mexico, it's a Mexican. And so it's going to be a Mexican peso. It's not going to be a Mexicon, no. Someone from Mexico, someone born with nationality would be a Mexican. Okay, it's not going to be a Mexican, so it's going to be a Mexican peso. Remember Argentina, I said it was Argentinian, so it's going to be an Argentinian peso, or it's going to be a Spanish, somebody from Spain, a Spanish. Let me put it down so you can see it, because Mexico is Mexican, Spain is Spanish. Okay, Spanish. Okay, and someone from Israel is an Israelite. An Israelite. Okay, and then you have, of course, Nigerian. Okay, so it's an Israelite. If I say I'm an Israelite, and it's unisex, so it means that it is both male and female. An Israelite. Or it's a shekel from Israel, Okay, and then you have the Korean won, you have the Argentinian peso, you have the Mexican peso, you have the Spanish peso. Okay, and then you have South African rand, and then the dirham. Dirham is from where? Dirham is from Morocco. It's O-double-C-O, Morocco. I remember in my last class I asked you the nationality from Morocco would be a Moroccan. So it becomes, the O becomes a ken, a Moroccan. So it's a Moroccan dirham. So these are some of the currencies, okay? And I wanted you to really focus on this ones because oftentimes most of the currencies, all the currencies, a lot of the countries, they fall under some of these currencies, like the CFA franc, like the dollar, like the peso, and then the Swiss franc as well. A lot of the countries, world countries, you will see that a lot of them, a bunch of them, they fall under those categories. So it was important, or it's very important that you learn this. Get to know these currencies so that you would know which country uses what and how it's properly pronounced. So it's not going to be like a France euro, it's going to be French euro. It's not going to be like just a dollar or America dollars, but it's American dollars. It's going to be Canadian dollars. It's going to be Liberian dollars. You know, it's going to be Turkish lira. It's going to be a Swiss franc or Swedish franc. So whichever, you know, it's going to be a Mexican peso or Spanish peso. And so it depends on what you're, so it could be dollars, like I said. So it just depends on which currency or which country is using what. For example, even with the pound, it's not just the UK using pound. You also have Jamaica using pound. Okay, you have Jamaica using pound. You know, you have Namibia using dollars. Let me write it underneath. You have Namibia as well that uses you know, you also have Namibia that uses dollars as well. Yeah, so it's going to be Jamaican, it's going to be Jamaican pounds, it's going to be Namibian pounds, it's going to be Liberian pounds. So, so you can see that there are a bunch of examples of countries that would use some of this. You just have to be very specific, because if you just say dollar, it doesn't say much, because the first thing that comes to mind when it's dollar, it's an American, whereas no, you have Liberia and you have Africa that uses dollars. We've seen that, Liberia, Namibia, and then you have, when you talk about pounds, you'll be thinking, oh, it's just British, but no, we have Jamaica that uses pounds as well, okay? And so, and then of course, the peso as well. We have countries that use peso. So we need to be very specific about the countries when we're using the currencies. So thank you.